So welcome back to the channel, and today I want to start off a new series where I'll be doing book overviews. So in each video I'll be talking about a specific book that I've read recently. It could be a pop psychology one, it could be self-help, could be something more academic, or anything to do with the mind, psychology or human behaviour. So I'll be giving you a quick synopsis, an overview of the book, the main ideas in it, and I'll also be giving you my thoughts, my opinions on it. So today I'm going to be doing this book here, and that is The Luck Factor by Richard Wiseman. Hi, I'm Stephen Burns from Mind School, and today I'm going to be talking about this book here, The Luck Factor by Richard Wiseman, 4 simple principles that will change your luck and your life. Sounds fantastic, so let's get stuck in. So the general idea behind this book is that luck is not some kind of random event that happens to some people and not to others. That luck is actually a psychological construct. It's something that we do have a certain amount of influence over. And I thought, as a general premise for a book, this is a pretty cool idea, because I think most people to a certain degree believe that luck is just something that happens, that we don't have any control over it. But Richard Wiseman in his book doesn't agree with that. He says, no, it's not at all. That luck actually has certain principles, there's certain psychological traits. And by understanding these principles and then practicing certain exercises, using certain techniques, you can actually become a much more lucky person. So in the book, he basically divides this into 4 main principles, and there's some sub-principles within those main ones too. So let's just go through each of these 4 principles and take a look at them. So principle number 1 is maximize chance opportunities. So this is the idea that lucky people tend to, first of all, have more opportunities, but they're also very good at seizing those opportunities. And Wiseman says in order to kick in this principle, you want to do 3 things. So the first is you want to network more. So lucky people tend to be very good networkers. Even if they're quite introverted, they still have quite large social networks, whether that be through social media or whether it be going to, lots of different social events. That by doing so, they end up having lots of these chance opportunities that then leads to lucky things entering their life. And this makes sense if you think about it. I mean, say for example, you wanted to find a partner. In order to do that, you could just go out and just meet lots of people, go to lots of social events on a weekly basis, and eventually you're going to get lucky because you're increasing the number of people that you're interacting with. Or if you wanted to find a business partner, going to lots of different business events, eventually you're going to get lucky because you're putting yourself into more and more of these situations. So that's the first thing. The second thing he recommends you do to kick in this principle is to have a relaxed attitude to life. And the way he describes this is if you are, neurotic, if you worry, if you stress out, if you're anxious quite a lot, then you kick in the fight or flight response. So you tend to have a very kind of narrow, almost like tunnel vision way of viewing the world. And that makes sense because if you're in fight or flight mode, that's what you want, because you want to either fight what's in front of you or run away from it. You're not interested in anything that's in your surroundings. Whereas if you're much more relaxed, you tend to have a more softer gaze in your world. You start to notice things in your periphery that you maybe didn't notice if you were in tunnel vision. So you tend, when you are much more relaxed, you tend to see more opportunities in your peripheral. You see more of the full story rather than getting really vexed and just focusing in on a very narrow viewpoint. One of the examples he gives is that people who are nice and chilled out and relaxed tend to find money randomly in the street. He does some kind of research experiments in the book where he explains it. And it's because they're not focused on their path, on this really small restricted place that they're going. They have a much wider viewpoint. The lens is much broader. They're starting to see opportunities in their periphery. So that's the second thing. The third thing he recommends to kick in this principle is to have as many new experiences as you possibly can. And this, of course, makes sense because if you have a rich array of different activities, hobbies, different types of people that you interact with, then all those things are going to open you up to new opportunities that you wouldn't have if you just played it safe and just did the same things over and over again. So that's principle number 1. Principle number 2 is listen to your lucky hunches. So this is the idea that lucky people tend to listen to their intuition more. They're tuned in with their inner feelings. And if something is a good fit with them, they tend to go for it, and that leads to them being more lucky. Now, I love this one. And if you're the kind of person who likes a cheesy quote on Instagram telling you to, listen to your intuition, listen to your guts, or always, pay attention to what your heart is telling you and weird stuff like that, then you're going to love this too. It's going to be music to your ears. So in the book, he says that lucky people tend to listen to their inner feelings. They tend to listen to their intuition more, and this leads them to making better decisions. Rather than trying to overanalyze things, overthink it, weigh up the pros and cons, and involve the more kind of, cognitive, intellectual parts of their brain and just end up in this kind of weird, complicated thought loop. And this kind of makes sense as well, because when we use our intuition, when we listen to our inner feelings like this, then what we're doing is we're tapping into our subconscious mind. This vast pool of past experience, knowledge, skills and abilities that we've built up over the years. So we get access to so much more than if we're to just think of something consciously. Our conscious, more cognitive faculties can only really focus on a certain amount of information at the one time, whereas our subconscious tends to have so much more to access. It has this real rich pool of, resources, a reservoir of knowledge and experience. So actually that gut instinct, that quick inner feeling, can actually be a lot more accurate than spending hours and hours, analysing the whole thing to death. So that's principle number 2. Principle number 3 is to expect good fortune, have positive expectations. So a positive expectation is where you imagine good things happening to you in the future. And in general, the more that you imagine good things happening to you in the future, then the more you increase the chances of those good things happening. And this is classic self-fulfilling prophecy stuff. For example, if we do the opposite, say you engaged in what I call doomsday thinking. We all know someone who's like this, that's basically just catastrophizing all over the place. Oh my God, horrendous things are going to happen. If you do that over and over again, then you'll eventually prove yourself right. You'll actually end up attracting those things into your life. The mind is a bit like a laser beam, so whatever's in our awareness from moment to moment, we tend to attract more of that into our experience. So you want to do, obviously, the positive side to this, and if you imagine having positive things in your life and positive things happening to you, then you're going to start to attract those things into your life more often. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be all positive and cheery and happy all the time, irrespective of what's happening, but if you have that as a reasonable, strong base, if you are expecting good things that are going to happen to you in the future, then you're going to attract more good than bad, and you are going to open up to new opportunities, and naturally, you'll start to become a little bit luckier. One of the exercises he gives in the book is something called dream wishing. And this is basically where you just take a portion of time out of your day, it could be 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you just imagine something that you want to have in your life, and then you just imagine stepping into that and actually seeing it, hearing it, and feeling what it would be like if you did actually accomplish it. And you then just loop that round inside your mind a few times, and then you just kind of let it go and you allow things to happen. And this is a great technique. This is actually something that, I've done quite a few times. In fact, it's something I've done for quite a few years now, and it definitely does work. It doesn't mean you control everything, but it definitely does help you invite more positive things into your life. So that's principle number 3, have positive expectations. And the last principle, number 4, is you want to turn your bad luck into good luck. So this is the idea that you want to be able to change the relationship you have with the bad luck you experience. So the advice that he gives is, first of all, you don't want to dwell on the negative of bad luck. You want to see the positive behind it. The second thing is you always want to appreciate that bad luck is temporary, that eventually things will work out in the end. If you extend the time frame, usually, most of the time, things work out, you return to an even keel and things are okay. And the third piece of advice he gives is that when you do experience bad luck, you want to learn from it and then take action to make sure that that bad luck doesn't happen in the future. So I think all of these 3 things are great advice, it's fantastic. But for me, it was a little bit of a cheat because it's not really teaching you to be more lucky. It's more teaching you how to improve the relationship, the way that you respond to your bad luck. So I think that is something that's a wee bit different to what he was talking about in the rest of the book. However, all of that is amazing advice. If you internalise it, if you put it into practice, it will actually make a big difference. So it's still a really good thing. Because for me, at the end of the day, our experience as a human being is subjective. It's not the things that happen to us that define who we are, that define our life. It's how we choose to respond to it. And I think that's the idea he was getting at in that section. So that's the 4 principles in the luck factor. Hopefully you enjoyed this overview. Before we finish this video, I want to just go through the pros and cons if you are thinking about getting the book. First of all, I do recommend you get it. I think it was an excellent read. It's well worthwhile. If you internalise the principles and practice the techniques, then I think it will make a really big and noticeable difference to your life. So the pros, I think there's 2 pros. First of all, it is evidence-based. Now, I'll be honest, for me, the term evidence-based has now become like a marketing tool. I think when you really get down to it, I don't really care if something's evidence-based or not, as long as it works, as long as you get results. However, I know some people are quite keen on that, and I do understand why they are, because there's so much bullshit in the self-help world that it is nice to have something to back it up. So if you're the kind of person who likes to have their ideas backed up by social science research, then you're going to love this book, because he is a professor. That's kind of what he does. The second pro of this book is that it's very practical. You know, in each of the different principles, he has a whole range of exercises that are very simple that you can put into practice pretty much immediately. And the thing is, it doesn't even read like some kind of textbook either. It's very balanced. He gives lots of research. There's some stories, there's some, case studies, and then it's mixed with techniques and exercises. So I think it's a very balanced book, and I think he does that very well and makes it very accessible. So I think the only con I can think about is sometimes it's a little bit dry. If you're the kind of person that likes a more emotional, book, one that's going to, move you emotionally, make you feel, one that's going to be a bit more, have more dramatic flair to it, then this might not be your book. To be honest, I don't really care about that. I found the subject matter so fascinating, so interesting, that doesn't really matter. It captured me anyway. And it's certainly not like majorly academic. He is a professor, but he manages to make it very, very accessible, which many people in the academic world fail miserably to do. So I think he deserves a lot of kudos for that. So that's an overview of the main ideas in the book and some pros and cons if you're thinking about buying it. If you do want to purchase it, I've included a link in the description below. Just to let you know, it is an affiliate link, so you can get it anywhere you like. But I would appreciate it if you use the link in this video. That would be very good of you. But you'll see the link in the description of this video. So hopefully you enjoyed this. There'll be more of these to come. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.